Hey, what's your problem? What is wrong with you? Why are you so obsessed? Why do you have a chip on your shoulder? Be careful how you answer those questions. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But having a problem or having a chip on your shoulder, holding a grudge, those things might just be the best thing you could possibly have if you want to be majorly, significantly successful in your life. And that's what we are going to talk about today. I'm not one of those entrepreneurs who gave up their six-figure salary and fancy office to start a business, and I wasn't selling lemonade to my neighbors when I was 7. I wasn't born an entrepreneur, and I never laid awake at night dreaming of owning my own business. My name is Ellery Wells, and I was forced to make a decision. Welcome to the Ellery Wells Show, where we talk with real entrepreneurs about real problems that they're facing and real solutions on how they are overcoming obstacles, achieving their goals, and making a difference in the world. If you're an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, this is the place to be to help you start, build, or grow your business. Thank you for joining me, and thanks for tuning in to this episode. It's been a while since I've been behind the microphone. I've even been a little bit slower on the blog, and I'm going to tell you all about that. But here's a little bit of a teaser for what we're going to talk about today. Why do you think Tiger Woods, Barbara Corcoran, Vince Flynn, John Lee Dumas of podcasting fame, Damon John, the founder of FUBU, Ronald Reagan, Meryl Streep, Michael Jordan, why do you think they're so successful? It's because they have a chip on their shoulder and they've got something to prove, and we're going to talk about that today. But before we do, I'm just going to share some of the things that I have been up to over the last 3 or 4 weeks. We had Mastermind Weekend, which I think went amazingly well. Made a lot of progress, and I think some people found some clarity, had some aha moments. It's weird when you hear people that aren't in the online space talk about their aha moments. I guess it's not strictly an online thing. I guess we online entrepreneur, podcaster, those kinds of people don't own that term or phrase aha moment, but it's just interesting when other people who don't listen to podcasts, don't necessarily read blog posts, or strictly offline people, like this guy doesn't even have a Facebook. He's not even on Facebook. So it's kind of cool to have that and have them say that they had some aha moments. But in the almost, man, it's been like 3 weeks since we had that event, but I feel like it's been even longer since I had a podcast episode. Yeah, it's been almost exactly a month, and I'm sorry about that. I feel like I'm apologizing a lot for lack of consistency, but and I don't want to make an excuse, because if I make an excuse, that might open the door for you to make an excuse for your own goals and those kinds of things, and I don't want to do that. I want you to go after those things, but when you have a business and podcasting is your marketing tool, it's not your business. You guys know the only ads that I really have on the show are for my own products, things that I really believe in, some affiliate things, those kinds of things. But it is not I don't generate revenue or have revenue coming in from the podcast. So it's a marketing tool, surprise. And it's also a way of communicating and sharing stories and those kinds of things. But when you have a business outside of that, sometimes we get a little bit distracted from coming in and sitting down behind the microphone. Plus, it takes a lot of time. It's a little bit of work, but I love it. I love hearing from you guys, and don't hear from you enough. But over the last few weeks, I'm going to tell you just a few things that I've done. I decided, I think I mentioned this to you, that Best Buy ran. Actually, if you follow me on Snapchat, you're very familiar with this story. If you don't, go to Snapchat, Ellery Wells, no space. You can find me. But Polk, 10 years ago, almost to the day, 10 years ago, my dad and I walked through Fry's Electronics back when I was working at IBM in Irving, Texas. And we walked through Fry's, and we saw, you go in there, and I think Fry's is still, I haven't been in this area of Texas in a very long time. No friends or family live there. So you go into the home theater section. You got the TVs across the back. This is when they had DLP TVs like I had, or actually still have. And anyway, there was a room with just speakers, and I'd walk in there with my dad, and we would test all of the speakers. And I always thought the Polk Audio speakers sounded like some of the best. They had some of the widest range of sounds. I'm not, hip with all the audio lingo, so I might say something wrong, but the high notes and the low notes that had a lot of bass, they sound really amazing. Well, a few weeks ago, actually about a month ago, Best Buy had a sale 50% off their Polk speakers. So I ended up getting a new center channel towers for the front, left, and right, and 4 in the back. So we have 7.1, and then I also got a new subwoofer, so we have 7.2 in our game room. And that led to a new 4K TV. I got a Sony Bravia 65-inch. It's pretty awesome. And then we were like, well, all this other stuff kind of sucks now. It's stuff that was hand-me-downs of hand-me-downs from college, and we've been out for a long time now, and we've just been putting our money other places. We talked about new camera for the business. We ended up redoing my office a few years ago, and we've been on vacations and cruises, and we're just like, you know what? Let's just finally redo this room. So new speakers led to new TV. We painted the room. We have all new, mostly new furniture. We didn't replace everything. And it totally looks different, and it's awesome, and we love it. And then guys, 4K TV. Oh my gosh. It is amazing. And I don't even have a 4K player. So we're really just talking about upscaling content, but my gosh, it's pretty amazing. So I would check that out. The other thing I will tell you is that I did a Windows refresh of my computer, and this is more of a tooltip thing. But I've always just kind of thought updates to software and all that were just fine. The guys who write the code and do the updates and push all the updates, they do just a fine job. But Windows, at the beginning of June 2017, they pushed out like their artist update or their maker update or something like that for Windows. And things just started to get really slow on my computer. Like the media buttons on my keyboard, the pause, the play, I think the volume still worked because that wasn't necessarily in the player, but that stopped controlling the Amazon music player that I use. It was just a massive headache. So I ended up doing not a factory reset, but a Windows reset. It's built into Windows 10 where you can just reset to a plain vanilla version of Windows 10, no updates or anything like that, or the most previous version, something like that. And it uninstalls all of your programs, and it doesn't delete your files. You can choose to do that, and I thought I did, because if you use Box, like I have mentioned, and you have the desktop sync, if you read that blog post I wrote a couple of years ago about creating your own personal cloud, you'll find that in there. But it makes it really easy to bring all of your files back if you have Box. Anyway, I thought updates would be fine, and there would not be any issues, but there was. And my friend Beaton, that you've heard me talk about, suggested that I just do a reset. And my goodness, it made all the difference. Everything seems to work better. Even Chrome is working better, which is not a Microsoft product. So updates over a year of all of these pieces of software, uninstalling them, and just doing a spring cleaning of the computer really has boosted, I don't want to say boosted performance, because I've got a quad-core i7, 16 gigs RAM, and a big solid-state drive, so it doesn't get much faster than that, but just software is running better. So if you're having issues, maybe this is a metaphor for life. I'm not going to spend any time figuring that out, but maybe a spring cleaning of your computer is something that you should look into. So anyway, the last thing. Let's cue this segment in here. I've been wanting to use this for a long time. And now for a segment that I like to call Books. That cracks me up every time, because whenever I was recording that a few months ago, I was trying to drop this heavy stack of books on my table so it would make this nice thud, but I ended up dropping them, and I think it turned out a little bit better than I meant to. But I got a Kindle in January, so I still buy physical books, but I'm not going to drop my Kindle. But anyway, I wanted to tell you about a book called, I think it's called The Big Miss. Yeah, it's called The Big Miss: My Years Coaching Tiger Woods by Hank Haney. And Hank Haney's a big golf coach. I mean, he'd have to be coaching Tiger Woods, but I would highly suggest it. I heard my friend Mark Mawhinney from, I would say, from Canadian land, but that's only a joke that maybe I only think is funny. But my friend Mark talking about it as one of a really great book on how to be a better coach. And I mentioned it on the blog a few weeks ago, and I've been reading it. It's the formatting wise, it's not great. There's only like 4 chapters in the 200 or 300 page book, and Hank could probably use an editor, but the content is still pretty good. Sometimes, he talks about a tangent and has to come back, or, it would be nice to have section breaks and paragraphs and all those kinds of things. But all in all, it's a pretty good book, and I would highly recommend it. All right, let's dive right into why having a chip on your shoulder is probably one of the best things that you can do for your success. If you've been ever been told, oh, just get over it, oh, just let it go, or move on, or those kinds of things, suck it up. I'm here to tell you that might not be the best advice that you could follow. Because as I was reading, this is where I mentioned The Big Miss just a second ago. This is where I got this idea, because Mark told me about it, and since I've been playing golf on and on, mostly off, and never really playing all that well for almost 20 years, and I'm not that good, but I am familiar with Tiger Woods, as you probably are, as pretty much everyone in the world is probably, and I knew who Hank Haney was. But let me give you some examples. Tiger Woods, he's worth $740 million, and I'm pretty sure that is post-divorce. So from the very beginning of this book, The Big Miss, Haney talks about Tiger with this clinical detachment, not a lot of emotion, and it's kind of interesting, but Haney mentioned that even as a young golfer, Tiger acted as reserved, uninterested, and mentally isolated from what was going on around him as possible. He had these blinders on, and it was Haney's belief that the chip Tiger had on his shoulder was one of the reasons why Tiger was and is so successful, because Tiger had something to prove. And Haney went into detail on this. He talked about a lot of young golfers. Hank owns like golf camps in the Dallas area, those kinds of things. So he has been around golf and seen a lot of golfers who have shown a lot of promise, but who ultimately fell short of their potential. And kind of like the spring cleaning thing, I think there's probably a life lesson to be extracted about that. We have potential, but we fall short. But maybe that's a topic over a beer or a glass of wine or something. But at the time, Tiger Woods made the transition from amateur to pro. Several coaches and golf experts predicted that Tiger Woods, like all of those other hopefuls who had promise but fell short, they predicted that Tiger would also come up short. But Hank Haney predicted that Tiger would have the greatest first-year earnings of any player before. So when everyone else predicted that Tiger would fail and told him he wouldn't amount to much, tell him that he was just potential and no action, he would crumble under the pressure, Tiger actually excelled. And he was able to use his reserved demeanor, his kind of uninterested attitude, and his ability to mentally isolate and insulate himself from his surroundings to great effect. And he was able to tune out the world and focus on the task at hand. And I think for me, I think for any entrepreneur, because I've seen people talking about this on Facebook, or not just entrepreneurs, I think everybody could benefit from just letting the rest of the world dissolve and focus on what you are doing and what you can control. Anyway, people told Tiger he would completely fail, and he had a chip on his shoulder. He had something to prove. And if you want to be successful, you should find the biggest chip you can find and mount it firmly on your back. And here's why, more evidence. Here's more evidence why having a chip on your shoulder could be the best thing for your success. So we just talked about Haney's description of Tiger Woods, and after I read that, I began to remember all of the other successful people that I've read about, seen on TV, who have had a chip on their shoulder. Well, some people might tell you, like I said before, to get over it, or tell you it's just a game. Oh, that's one that bugs the crap out of me. They will demean your interest in when you get serious. Oh, it's just a game, or it's just, shut up. Just tell them to shut up. Because I'm going to tell you right now to find your frustration. Find what it is that makes you mad. Dig in deep and let this chip on your shoulder drive you to amazing success. Here are a few more examples. I mentioned Barbara Corcoran. You might have seen her on Shark Tank. So we talk about Tiger Woods, $740 million net worth. Barbara Corcoran, net worth of $80 million. And I found, this is all public information, by the way. I found it on Wikipedia. If you and I have spent any time together, you've probably heard me talking about Shark Tank. When I was in Canada, everybody was talking about Dragon's Den. It's the same thing. But in fact, I think Shark Tank and Dragon's Den in the UK and Canada, wherever else it is, I think those should be mandatory watching for entrepreneurs. But one of the sharks, Barbara Corcoran, began her business with a chip the size of Manhattan on her shoulders. Not only was she a female in a male-dominated industry, but she was also dyslexic. And because of her dyslexia, she was labeled stupid as a kid. And she'll also tell you, and this is not in the blog post, when she got divorced, her husband, who I think was also in real estate, said, "You'll never succeed without me." So this guy left her, or she left him, whatever. They got divorced. He was mad, and he said, you're never going to succeed. You're never going to do well without me. And that gave Barbara something massive to prove. But in a recent episode of Shark Tank, which shared the history of each shark, Barbara shared how being labeled stupid as a child was the primary driver of her success today. And every day, and this is almost a quote, every day she wakes up wanting to show people she's not dumb. And I talked to, I think this was Brenda McGraw on one of the coaching episodes, earlier episodes of the Ella Ray Wells show. And we were talking about how her, I think her second grade teacher told her she could never sing, or she could never do something that she wanted to do. And so she never did. Just another reference there for you. Vince Flynn, one of my favorite fiction authors who passed away a few years ago. His estate, his brand now is worth $8 million. And he's also dyslexic. Was also dyslexic, sorry. And also likely labeled as stupid when he was growing up. Vince Flynn is one of the most successful fiction writers of modern times. There's Stephen King and some of those other people, but every single one of his novels has hit #1 bestseller status on the New York Times. And he's one of my favorites. And one of his books, called American Assassin, which wasn't even his best book, honestly, but it will be in theaters the fall of 2017, so just here in a few months. But before his success as an author, Flynn resigned from his job as a salesman with Kraft Foods and enlisted in the Marines because he wanted to become a pilot. But because of his dyslexia, he was medically disqualified. And again, I think because of that dyslexia, like Barbara, I'm pretty sure he was told he was stupid growing up. And Vince definitely had something to prove. And to overcome his dyslexia, Flynn committed to read and write every single day. He put in the work to become better at his craft. He wanted to improve his skills. And that's something else we've talked about on the blog. You should go check that out. I think the blog post, by the way, is called something to the effect of, if you wanted to pick my brain, this is what I would tell you. You can go find that on ellerawells.com. Anyway, he poured thousands of hours of work into proving he wasn't dumb and could do everything that he wanted in life. With 13 #1 best sellers, I would say that the chip on Vince Flynn's shoulders has served him well. And here are a few more examples. As if Tiger Woods, Barbara Corcoran, and Vince Flynn weren't enough. But podcaster, entrepreneur, and multimillionaire owner of Entrepreneur on Fire, John Lee Dumas, was told by his coach that his daily podcast would never work. Had he listened, he wouldn't be the John Lee Dumas we all know and love today. Daymond John, he started FUBU, was teased for not being great in school, and I bet he was also teased for being interested in fashion. I don't know that, but that's just a guess. Meryl Streep was told she was too ugly to be in movies. Ronald Reagan was told he didn't look very presidential. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team because he was too short. I wonder, what's that guy? The really short basketball player. I don't know. It's not important. Anyway, sometimes the words that hurt the most are the ones that drive us. And I think it's 100% possible that the chip on your shoulder might just be your key to success. So let me ask you, do you have a chip on your shoulder? What is it? What have you been told that's just been like gnawing at the back of your mind? And you're like, man, screw that guy. I'm going to do this because they told me I couldn't. What is that? Would you shoot me an email and let me know? And if you are using that as the gasoline, the fuel to your fire, let me know that too. And if you maybe need some help figuring out what that is or how you can use that to drive you, let's set up a chat. I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, sorry it's been so long. I'm gonna record some more episodes. I've been very busy, like we mentioned, the game room, the Windows refresh. We also got a rug and some new screens for our back porch and new lighting. That was a solid two-day job that I didn't necessarily expect. Anyway, we're in the middle of summer, and now is the time when a lot of people slow down, lose momentum. Some people quit, and once you lose that momentum, it is really hard to get it back. So I'm taking some more applications for my next mastermind group. If you are interested in being part of that, I can't guarantee you results, but I can guarantee you it will be something you remember for a very long time and something that you learn a tremendous amount from, and it will move you forward. So if you're interested in that, go to elraywells.com/mastermind. It is a hot freaking day here in Round Rock. I just asked my Google Home, hey, what's the weather today? And she told me it was going to be a high of 99 degrees. So stay cool, everybody. From Round Rock, Texas, I'm your host, Ellery Wells. Go do something awesome. Muggsy Bogues. That's who I was thinking of. Muggsy Bogues was 5'3", and I don't know who he played for, but 5'3", which just goes to show you that you can do anything that you want if you put in the time and effort and energy to improve your craft and be the best you can be. Have an awesome day.